Hello, welcome, Phaedra. Thank you so much for joining us. Joining me, really. We are so excited to be speaking to you now, and we're going to talk about your most recent book, The Messy Lives of Book People, which came out in May in 2022. And before I actually give the author a chance to speak, I am going to introduce her. I'm going to read her short bio. So Phaedra Patrick studied art and marketing and has worked as a stained glass artist. Remind me to ask you about that. That's
okay.
Film festival organizer and communications manager, an award-winning short story writer. She now writes full-time in Saddleworth, where she lives with her family. And Saddleworth is in the UK, correct?
Yeah, in the northwest, not far from Manchester.
Okay, that's a good point of reference. Her debut novel, The Curious Charms of Arthur Pepper, which we read in 2018 and loved, was translated into over 20 languages worldwide and has been optioned by a major Hollywood film studio. Oh, I need to ask about that as well.
Okay.
Her second novel, Rise and Shine, Benedict Stone, named Wishes Under the Willow Tree in the UK. Again, another question asking about the UK titles versus
yeah.
Canadian titles. Is also under option in the US as a TV movie. Her third novel is The Library of Lost and Found, and the fourth one is titled The Secrets of Love Story Bridge, and also has a different name in the UK, The Secrets of Sunshine in the UK. And of course, then you went on to write The Messy Lives of Book People after this.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. It's brilliant to join the gloss again.
Phaedra was just telling me that she's in her shed, right, where you work.
I do. It's a really tiny little space, but I've got my bookshelves and all my books here, and I can see my garden, so it's quite a nice space to work.
So when I think of a shed, I think maybe the UK Canadian translation is a bit different, because you just put tools in a shed here, as far as I know.
It is one of those sheds. So we bought a shed that we would normally have tools in, and I've just put a floor in it and painted the wall, a radiator, so it is a normal shed. And I'll give you a little view of my garden there out of the window, so we can see that. And then yeah, just a little shed here. There we go, little tour. So it's just a small space.
You use it year round?
I do, yeah, I do. Sometimes I write in my house, but sometimes it's just nice and quiet out here, and it's really insulated, and I've got a heater and gloves and scarves, so I'm warm enough.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. Well, okay, so we've actually had the pleasure of reading two of your books now, and they are both lighthearted, enjoyable reads, and I would love to know if that is your niche.
Yeah, I think I like writing about everyday people. Like myself, really, but then taking them on a bit of an unusual journey and holding their hands. So I kind of think I'm quite a light-hearted person myself, and so I like my books to be warm and accessible, and for people to hopefully smile when they maybe laugh, maybe cry in places. So yeah, that's my kind of genre.
And does this reflect the genre that you most prefer to read as well?
I kind of read a little bit of everything. So I will read some fiction, non-fiction, mainly read kind of commercial uplifting stories, but I'm partial to a thriller. But I do read lots of textbooks on kind of the craft of writing or mental health, just anything that I'm interested in, really.
I love that, because I mean, obviously you've done very well. You write full time. That's usually like the goal of any author.
Yeah.
So to hear that you're still sort of practicing your craft and learning, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think I feel little bit sad sometimes because I'll get in bed and I've got my book on kind of, structuring novels or writing screenplays or, writing characters, how to write dialogue. And I've just always found it fascinating.
That's interesting. So we're actually going to dive in, and I'm going to ask you a question about your main character from The Messy Lives of Book People, and that is Liv Green. And she's such a relatable character, and her relationship with her husband and her children felt very, very close to home. Did you base her character on anybody particular?
I kind of don't base my characters on any one person, but kind of lots of people, instances, experiences find their way into the characters. So I kind of tapped into Liv when I was doing some of my jobs when I was a lot younger. And I remember in one job, I was very quiet, shy person, and people pushing in to use the photocopier, and kind of shoving me out of the way, or they might speak down to you in a certain way. So I kind of tapped into that for lived experiences, being a cleaner and cleaning people's houses. I'm sure most people are really delightful, but she does encounter some people who aren't as nice. And I think it's just everyday life's like that. I've also got a 16-year-old son, so I could relate to Liv having a teenager. And I think kind of everyone's marriages and relationships do go through ups and downs. So it was kind of, I think that will probably be relatable for people as well when they read about her relationship with her husband. It's not all roses.
I wanted to throttle his sister.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure a lot of us have got some relations, that, could do with keeping the mouth shut. So we bite our tongues, so we don't say the wrong thing to them. Yeah.
I think the most relatable part of this book, and I think it's true for a lot of people, is that she sort of starts out, and so she has this life and she's not really living her dreams, but really it's about finding, not only like pursuing her dreams, but finding her voice.
It is, yeah. And I think a lot of the thing is, I think with busy women especially, we're like Wonder Woman. We kind of do it all, don't we? Jobs, kids, work. But it's not only that. It's kind of, we do all the bits and pieces, don't we? If it's somebody's birthday, we get the birthday presents, we organise family get-togethers. We're kind of like on a hamster wheel all the time. And so I think a lot of the time you have dreams, but it's having the time and the confidence to do something about it. And I think kind of women tend to put other people first, especially mums. It will put like maybe the husbands first, the family first, the kids first, and maybe put themselves last. And so if they do have hopes and dreams, they're kind of something, sometimes they don't have the confidence or time to pursue. So I kind of wanted to do that for Liv, but she had this very unusual opportunity that could, actually make her dreams come true, but in a way that she would never expect to happen.
I was laughing when you were saying like just the women and the queen of multitasking.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I think all my friends were kind of always running at 100 miles an hour. You've always got a tick list about 50 things on your tick list that you've got to do, and men do it as well, of course. It's just kind of, I think women have a wider remit.
I went to see my doctor recently and she asked me if I was stressed, which I just because I'm like, that's a constant state of being for me.
Yeah, and it's really hard to give you permission to do something that you enjoy doing. So I remember when I really wanted to write a book, but I could only start writing once I cleaned the bathroom, once I cleaned the kitchen. It was kind of only then when my house was tidy that I'd allow myself that time, and I had to really, really force myself and really learn to think, no, this is what I want to do. The bathroom will wait, and nobody's going to give you more time. You've got to find that time for yourself.
I imagine that's changed greatly over the years.
Yeah. I mean, I've been writing full time for 7 years. Luckily, I got offered redundancy in my job at the same time as my book deals. So I took the leap, and I thought I'll try it for a year, see what happens. I can always go back into my job. I worked in like marketing and communications, but we'll give it a go. And I've not been back.
It's funny that it's almost like just something happens and it's just like the world telling you this isn't your path. You need to be somewhere else.
Yeah, it was just a strange coincidence. The two things coincided together, the redundancy and the book deals. So yeah, the universe was telling me something. So yeah, I took the leap of faith, and I've been doing it for 7 years.
Well, congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you.
I did have a question about you being an author yourself, and you wrote, I mean, it's such a great book because it's a book about books. And as a bookworm, like all my fellow bookworms, I think we all love to read about books in books. So I just wondered if you had anything in common with Essie Starling.
Yeah, I do. So I've always got something in common. There's always something of me in them, even like 69-year-old Arthur Pepper in my first book. I always put myself in them. So I think with Essie, so all Essie's writing tips in the book and my own writing tips. And I can really relate to her being reclusive as well. I wrote for a lot of years before I actually got published, and I had many rejections, and I didn't tell anyone. I just kind of shook myself away and didn't tell anyone that I was writing. So I can kind of relate to that side of her, just kind of that shutting yourself away from society just to write and work. I'm a bit better tempered than she is, but she's quite bossy and bolshy, and but yeah, so that's not me at all, but it's quite fun becoming that way, acting that way to get into her character.
Well, I'm glad that even if you don't go out into the world very often, that you're not shying away from interviews.
No, I actually quite enjoy the online interviews. It's kind of, I find it harder to actually go into, let's say, a library and deliver a talk. I find that kind of a bit less enjoyable, but I really like meeting people on Zoom and talking to others.
Well, that's perfect. It sounds like the pandemic was something that you might have found easier than others.
Yeah, because to me it was like business as usual, just shutting my shed writing, except I had company because my husband was working at home. My son was schooling at home, so it was actually a bit nicer, and it helped. I'd help walking the dog. So no, it was quite a pleasant experience for me. Actually, getting COVID wasn't that pleasant.
No, fair.
Yeah, but yeah, it didn't bother me at all. Actually, that being solitary.
Well, thank goodness for the shed.
Yeah, and I think lots of writers are kind of introverts in what we do, but you've also got to have that additional side of you, kind of introvert 90% of the time, but then you've got to go out and talk to people about your work as well, and then you've got to tap into that extrovert side of yourself.
It's kind of a funny job, actually, because you do, like, you can, like, the majority of your work is done in solitarily. I don't even know if that's a word, by yourself. And, but then there's this whole like arm of it that like your publishing house is like, and now you get to go and talk to everybody.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And now you've been shut yourself away for 10 months, get out and talk about it all. And it's a very strange job because you are shut away, but you're also working on something that might take 6 to 10 months, and you've got no idea how it's going to come out or if people will like it. So you can spend all that time on your work before you send it to your publisher, before you even get any input. So it can play a little bit on your mind. Is this any good? Will people like it? Is this a load of rubbish? That kind of thing. So yeah, it's very solitary, but then you're then liaising with agents, editors, copywriters, publicity, marketing, bloggers, book clubs. Yeah.
Well, I do want to know, I mean, out of all the books you've written, if you have a favorite setting, because sometimes the setting becomes sort of very, very important, almost like its own.
Yeah.
Or any characters that really stood out or are your favorites?
Well, I think my favourite location was in the Library of Lost and Found, and that was the title of the book in both the USA and England, because it was set at the seaside with the sea and the beach and little houses in the countryside. So I just really enjoyed taking myself away to that location while I'm writing. And the one I've just written now, which is the one after The Messy Lives of Book People, the majority is set in Italy. Really nice sunny location. When I'm here in kind of quite cold England, that you can put up in your laptop and spend the day in Italy instead.
Nice. Well, we look forward to reading that one. Will it have, let's go to the whole US UK title thing. Because it threw us for a loop for sure. We have, I mean, this happens more often than you would think, actually. This isn't that unusual. I think it's one of the, I think maybe second books we've read with 2 different titles. So can you just explain to our viewers like why that is the occurrence, especially for multiple books that you've written?
Yeah, so some books keep the same title. It's all down to the publisher, not me. I'm not going, hey, let's give it two different titles, because it just makes my life more complicated. So yeah, I usually come up with a list of titles, and sometimes they will pick one of mine, sometimes they come up with one of their own. And then it's a case of, will that title work in both countries or not? So The Curious Charms of Arthur Pepper kept the same title in both countries, and The Library of Lost and Found did. But then Rise and Shine Benedict Stone was called Wishes Under the Willow Tree in the UK. And then we mentioned before that that was under option, but it was just to say that Rise and Shine Benedict Stone was actually made into a film last year in the USA for Hallmark Movies.
Okay.
So I think if
I
you
need
look
to
for it online,
immediately
yeah,
go
you can
and watch this.
yeah, I've got a little let me just see here. So a little movie poster there.
Oh, that's so
So yeah, that was actually made into a film. But yeah, it's all down to the publishers. So The Messy Lives of Book People was called The Bookshare in the UK. But my next one is going to have the same title, hopefully, in the USA and the UK, and we think it's going to be called The Little Italian Hotel.
Aw.
So both countries kind of like that title and thought it would work.
So it's fascinating. So for Rise and Shine, does that not translate? Is that not a saying that you use in the UK?
Um, yes, for some reason, the editor just wanted to call it. I think it was because it had a male name in the title, and I think so. In the USA, a lot of book sales are done through independent bookstores, and in England, it's more through supermarkets.
Oh, okay.
So and bookstores. So I think they felt like having a male name in the title wouldn't be as appealing in supermarkets. So yeah, that's why I've got two different titles. However, when the film was made, England then re-released the book under the American title. Yeah.
All right. That's funny. How was it watching the film after it got released?
Oh, it was amazing, because it took I think it'd been optioned for 5 years.
Wow.
So it took 5 years, yeah, and it all happened very quickly. I just got an email saying, yeah, we're going to make it, and I think film started in Canada the following week. And I got the script through to read, and I just laughed all the way through it. They changed kind of, because it is set in America, they changed kind of some of the names, some of the settings, and so on. So it was really fun, but I think they did a brilliant job of it. And
nice.
It was really interesting seeing my characters come to life, but they were all much better looking, much actually in my imagination of these good looking people on screen.
Well, I'm glad you felt that they did a good job, because I feel like it's a different medium, so it must be such a shock to the system, having been like something that you started and thought the whole process through, and like you came up with the characters, you made them. So then when somebody else gets their hands on them, I mean, they can't help but change slightly.
Yeah, they did, and I kind of always knew that it's a completely different medium. So I knew there would be changes, and I get warned, there will be changes, and you might not like them. But once you sign that contract, you're kind of passing it on. So I always kind of say that it's a bit like your child going to college. They'll always be your child, but they're going to probably go off and have their own life and do things that you maybe like and things that you don't, but they're their own person. So that was it, a little bit like with the film. And also if Arthur Pepper gets made into a film, I have to accept that it's going to be completely different to my novel. The DNA is going to be there, but there will be changes.
Wow. So now, well, actually, what I want to do before we do have a quick fire round of questions, which is always
Yeah.
But before we do that, can you tell us a little bit about your new novel, about the one set in Italy?
Yeah, sure. So I've not really pitched this before, so please forgive me if I stumble a little bit. Yeah, but it tells a story about a 49-year-old mum of one. Ginny Splinter. She's been married for 25 years and she's really looking forward to celebrating her 25th wedding anniversary with her husband Adrian, and she's booked this absolutely gorgeous hotel and holiday in Italy that she plans to surprise him with. But just as she's going to surprise him with the holiday, she is an agony aunt. Well, sorry, she's an advice. Sorry, we use the word agony aunt, and I'm trying to think of what the word is. Yeah, she's a relationship expert on the radio, and she takes this call who kind of says, "How well do you really know your husband?" And it puts that seed of doubt in her mind. And when she goes home, she's about to present this surprise holiday to her husband, and he actually says that he wants a divorce. Oh. So she kind of has a bit of a meltdown live on air, and instead of taking her husband on holiday, she invites 4 heartbroken strangers instead. So they can all go on holiday and try and find a cure for heartache together. So she finds herself with 4 heartbroken strangers in Italy, and they all come up with an idea each that they try and do an activity to try and solve their heartache.
Oh my goodness, it sounds brilliant.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed writing this one.
Now, big question. Did you get to go to Italy to write it?
No, I didn't, unfortunately, because of COVID. I have been to Italy 3 times. So I kind of tapped into my experience there. And of course, these days you can watch YouTube videos. So it's not been a massive problem sitting here watching videos about Venice and Florence and take myself to these wonderful places. And one of the therapies the strangers try is gong therapy. You know, they go and lie in a room for this sound healing where somebody hits gongs around them, and I actually did that myself as research. Cool. So it's been really fun writing this one.
All right, well, thank you for answering all of our deep probing questions, and now we're going to do the quick fire round, and this is just some fun. So white milk or dark chocolate? White and milk.
I don't like dark chocolate, but I love chocolate, so any kind of milk, any kind of white.
Ebook, audio, or physical book?
Physical for me. If I listen to audio, my mind wanders off about other things, thinking about work. And I think because I'm on the laptop all day looking at a screen, I don't really like ebooks.
Fair enough. Do you have a favorite author?
I don't have a favourite one, but there are ones that I kind of look out for. So I like, I've got here, what have I got? Claire Pooley, who wrote the Authenticity Project, I like her. I like Taylor Jenkins Reid. I like her books, yeah. And he's quite a new author to me, but Alex North, who wrote The Creepy Whisper Man. So I'm going to look out for his latest one when it comes out next year.
You really do read all kinds of genres.
I do, yeah, and I've just enjoyed that one. Early Morning Rise. I've just written that one, read that one. But yeah, so I go off covers, recommendations, just things that catch my eye. It's just that pitch, and you go, oh, that sounds interesting. I'll try that one.
For sure. Favorite genre? I guess we've covered that.
yeah, kind of mainly uplifting fiction. Do
you have any guilty pleasures?
Guilty pleasures? Yeah, I do. I've written this down, and I read I don't like to call them rubbish magazines, but trashy magazines, yeah. So when I was young, I used to spend time with my next door neighbours, 2 girls who were older than me, and their treat was going buying 4 trashy magazines on Saturday. And we used to sit and read them. And I thought, wow, one day I'd love to earn enough money that I could buy trashy magazines. So every Tuesday I will go and buy, I will buy Heat, Closer, Grazia, fashion magazines. I also buy like Vogue, just whatever. So I've always got piles of magazines.
I love that. Do you have any friends that are authors?
I do, yeah. I think because we're all solitary, we kind of form support circles. So occasionally we get to go to writing parties. So I'm friendly with B.A. Paris. I don't know if you know her. She wrote Behind Closed Doors, so she's probably my best writing friend in the UK. And I'm also friends with Pam Jenoff and Mary Kabika, Kimberly Bell, Claire Pooley. I met for coffee a couple of months ago. So yeah, and we kind of all message each other occasionally or meet up for coffee when we can.
Yeah, I like that. It's nice. It's nice to have that community. You're all in the same boat, so.
Yeah, and it's kind of quite a precarious industry as well. You know, you kind of on 1 book contracts, 2 book contracts. Some sales are good, some sales aren't good. So it's kind of having that support network as well around you.
Very good. Are you binge watching or listening to any shows or podcasts?
I've just finished watching Better Call Saul. So we watched all Breaking Bad, and then we watched all Better Call Saul.
Oh, okay.
So when it ended, last month, I was kind of devastated because I just loved it. And I was kind of one of these people that was looking up on YouTube, kind of how did they write Breaking Bad, and watching the writing process of all the writers in the room and how they came up with the ideas and how they plotted it. And I was just kind of, I love the program, but I'm also fascinated by the kind of structure of it all and how the characters are written. So yeah, I absolutely loved Better Call Saul.
Favorite vacation?
Vacation for me, I think my favorite country is Croatia. So halfway through Messy Lives of Book People, Liv goes to Croatia. Yeah, and that was based on my love of Croatia. And probably my favorite place I've ever been to was Ibiza, which was just really nice and chilled on the Balearic Islands.
You must have not gone to the party part of it.
I didn't go to, no, maybe I was like 22, but no, I kind of went on the, and just the nice bars, you know, the nice chilled out beach bars, that kind of thing. And the
I have heard that half of it is like crazy party and half of it is just beautiful, relaxed.
Yeah. So I was in the beautiful, relaxed place. We went into party capital like during the day and then came out again.
Very cool. And our last question for you is, are you a night hawk or early to bed?
I'm kind of early to bed because my son's at college. He goes to bed at 11:15. So I go to bed at 11:15. If I have the house to myself, if my husband and son are out, I will just go to bed when I feel like it. So my best times for writing are first thing in the morning, like 6 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock at night. But that's not very sociable. So I can only do that when I'm in the house on my own. Right. So on the rare occasions that I do have the house to myself, I'll probably be writing at 11 o'clock at night.
Wow.
But other times I will be in bed early.
I am in bed as early as possible.
Oh, yeah.
2 small children.
Oh yes, yeah. So is it kind of soon as you've got them in bed? Yeah. It's not much longer afterwards. Yeah.
I follow them to bed.
I've been through those years. Yeah.
Well, it's been such a pleasure, and thank you so much for writing such a brilliant book. It was really a pleasure to read it and discuss it with our groups all over the world. And we look forward to your Italy book, and we can't wait to see all of these translated onto the silver screen as well.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me, and just thank you for everyone who's read this one and enjoyed it, and have them conversations about it and any of my previous ones. So I'm just really, really grateful.
You're such a delight. Thank you so much. Take care.
All right. Thank you. Bye.